Okay, I want to talk today about the strangest Old Testament slavery law that we've got. Now, the Torah, or the Law of Moses, contains about 4 or 5 different bodies of legal material. So you've got the Covenant Code in Exodus 21, you've got the Deuteronomic Code in Deuteronomy, which is kind of similar. And you have in Leviticus 25, you've got the Holiness Code dealing with slavery. And then the one that people often forget about is the narratives, which are interweaved throughout it. So you've got some really important stories about Joseph or Hagar, which kind of are just as important as the legal material in understanding what the Bible says. Anyway, all of this, we've got about 20 or so laws across there, maybe 5 or 6 stories about slavery. All of these can be quite startling to us as modern readers when we come back and read it. Because instead of laying out kind of an ideal society in which obviously there would be no slavery, what Moses does is instead give judgments into this imperfect world that he finds himself in. And those judgments, a little bit like how a judge today might lay down a judgment, it might give a judgment about a messed up situation that comes before him. So anyway, you sort of have to put all these different judgments, these individual judgments together to get a sense of what the whole is saying. My friend Drew Johnson talks about this as kind of like a pixelated picture. Like all these judgments, they're like individual pixels, and you have to step back and see the full picture to understand what Moses is saying about slavery. Anyway, if you know anything about ancient societies, ancient Near Eastern societies, the fact that Moses talks about and even regulates slavery is not at all surprising, right? It's very, very common throughout the ancient world. What is super interesting, though, is what Moses actually says about slavery. Right? When you compare it to Hittite or neo-Assyrian or Babylonian slave laws, what Moses actually says when he's regulating slavery makes almost no sense at all. All right, for example, it's very, very common in ancient legal bodies to have law codes which talk about enslaved people who have escaped from slavery. Okay, it's very, very common to have laws about this. And either they provide laws about the kind of the reward that you get for returning an enslaved person to their enslaver, or in fact it will give a punishment for people who aid and abet escaped slaves. So in the case of the laws of Hammurabi, the householder shall be killed, right, who harbors a fugitive slave. Anyway, Moses has a law about escaped slaves too. But as far as I can tell, it's unique in the ancient kind of legal code space, right? Because what Moses says is almost the exact opposite of the other codes, right? Moses says, if a slave has taken refuge with you, do not hand them back to their master. Let them live among you wherever they like and in whatever town they choose. Do not oppress them. Now, how do we explain this almost complete reversal of how any kind of sane enslavement system is meant to work? Well, the clue comes actually a chapter later. So that was Deuteronomy 23. Throughout all the law codes to do with slavery, there's this constant reminder of this historical event which has occurred in the lead up to the giving of this law. Remember that you were slaves in Egypt and the Lord your God redeemed you from there. This is why I command you to do this. Right? So in other words, all these laws are premised upon this historical event that they've experienced, that they were enslaved and oppressed people in Egypt, and then God busted them out of slavery with Moses at the helm, got them out of slavery into the promised land where they can live not as slaves to Pharaoh, but as servants of God. This is essentially a nation of runaway slaves, right? They believe that God has busted them out of slavery, and so that changes how they're meant to treat other people. And it rules out a worldview in which there are different classes of people. Some people are kind of humans and the rest are sort of property to be dealt with as they like, right? It rules out that kind of two-tier system of humanity. No, we're all humans, we're all in the image of God. We all have rights, right? Like as soon as you have to treat each other as if you matter, as if you're a person, that really starts to undo the whole logic of the enslavement system. Now, the impact of this kind of revolutionary view of humanity that Moses is laying down here, the impact of this is still being felt today, right? And ironically, the fact that you and I are shocked when we read these ancient codes about slavery, including some of the laws in the Bible, the fact that we're shocked by that is actually testament to just how influential the law of Moses has become and just how much it has helped us to see that all of God's people are made in the image of God, no matter whether you're rich or poor, no matter your economic circumstances. We are all in the image of God, and so we all, regardless of our circumstances, regardless of our ethnic background, regardless of anything, we all have the image of God, and so we have this baseline degree of respect and humanity that we need to show everyone else. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Thanks for listening. I'll catch you again sometime soon.